Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Our director, Whitney, regrets that she can't be here today, so it falls to me to introduce our speaker. Phillip Luke Sinitiere, Dr. Phillip Luke Sinitiere, received a PhD in American history at the University of Houston in 2009. Currently, he's Professor of History and Humanities at the College of Biblical Studies, a predominantly African-American school located in Houston's Mahatma Gandhi district. In addition, and most importantly, Phil is the scholar in residence at UMass Amherst's WEB Bois Center, where we are today. He also serves on the editorial board of Global Black Thought, a brand new peer-reviewed journal launched by the African American Intellectual History Society. A scholar of American religious history and African American studies, Sinitiere's latest book is Forging Freedom in W.E.B. Du Bois's Twilight Years, No Deed but Memory, which I recommend that all of you buy immediately. At present, he's finishing a book on the history of Du Bois's archives, which is under contract with UMass Press, and a scholarly essay volume on the work of Shirley Graham Du Bois's second wife, under contract with the University of Pennsylvania Press. Phil has served as the Du Bois Center's scholar in residence since 2019. In that time, he's crisscrossed the country, unearthing archival treasures, forging new connections with peer institutions, and advocating for the work that we do here at the Center. He visits our campus twice a year to continue his research in our collections, but also to give talks, to mentor graduate student fellows at the Du Bois Center, and to generally help us continue to generate important scholarship on the man who this building is named. Phil plays a key strategic role in planning our the scholarly side of the Du Bois Center. Archival collections for figures like Du Bois are still comparatively rare. They exist to be used by scholars as well as the public, to generate new knowledge about the past and to help us better understand the present. Phil's work has brought us a better understanding of how this remarkable collection, the Du Bois Papers, came together and the people involved in its creation. Today, he turns his attention to newly acquired materials seen only by a few. The archives live and breathe and evolve. As Lerone Bennett put it when he spoke at the opening of the Du Bois Papers in 1980, Du Bois is still alive in his papers, still on the case. Well, Phil is still on the case too. And in this talk, he will show you that the work of the archivist, the historian, the investigative scholar is never done. There is always another box to be opened, always another page to be turned, and always another story to be told. Ladies and gentlemen, watching online and here in the room with me, please join me in welcoming Dr. Phillip Luke Sinitiere.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and I want to welcome those of you tuning in online. I want to begin my remarks this afternoon with some thank yous. In particular, I want to thank my colleagues and comrades here at the Du Bois Center, Dr. Whitney Battle-Baptiste and Adam Holmes, for supporting my research for a number of years now. I want to thank the UMass Library leadership, Adam, for supporting my work as well. I want to give a shout out to my friend and colleague from Tufts University, Frieden Bloom Orr, with whom I've had dozens of conversations about the scrapbooks the past year that have been quite fruitful. I also want to acknowledge the archivist here at UMass in the Robert S. Cox Special Collection and Special Collections and University Archives and Research Center, specifically Aaron Rubenstein, Caroline White, Kirsten Kay, as well as Annie Solinger. My topic today is Yolande Du Bois's Scrapbooks, Portals to Hidden Black History. When we hear the name Yolande Du Bois, we often think of her as Dr. Du Bois's daughter. We may also hear of her as the former spouse of the queer Harlem Renaissance writer and poet Countee Cullen. This often leaves the impression, the overwhelming impression, that history acted upon Yolande Du Bois rather than Yolande Du Bois making her own history. Well, with the recent discovery and acquisition of Yolande Du Bois's scrapbooks, this discovery will contest this narrative. These scrapbooks were discovered in South Texas last year, and they were acquired by UMass last spring. And all told, these 8 scrapbooks date from about 1917 into the 1940s, totaling roughly 600 pages. So we have almost 600 pages that are portals into little-known or hidden Black history. On these pages, we see many new facets about Yolande Du Bois's life. We see her artistic imagination changing over time. We see her curated version of her life as a teenager, as a young woman, as a student, as a lover, as an artist, as a teacher, as a daughter, etc. These scrapbooks place Yolande Du Bois in a long stream of Black cultural traditions of scrapbooking or scrapbook making that include the likes of Alexander Gumby, Frederick Douglass, Alice Dunbar Nelson, as well as Mary Church Terrell. These are, according to scholar Ellen Gruber Garvey, alternative histories, writing with scissors. And in addition to all of these aspects of the scrapbooks, if we think about these scrapbooks revealing Yolande Du Bois's artistic imagination, they're also evidence of what I call her aesthetic autobiography. And so before getting into the scrapbooks themselves, what I'd like to do is introduce some of the characters in today's story. I'd like to set the scene by way of scholarship, and I'd also like to trace out a little bit more the backstory of where these scrapbooks came from, how they made it to UMass. And then we'll attend to some of the fascinating details of the scrapbooks. So the characters in today's story are members of the Du Bois family. This photograph is from Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois's 72nd birthday. And so he's a key figure in this story, born 3 years after the end of the Civil War, and he lives until the eve of the March on Washington. We see Nina Gomer Du Bois, born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and she dies in 1950, several years after ill health following a stroke. We see, of course, Yolande Du Bois Williams, and she goes by Williams at this point in her life because her short-lived marriage to County Cullen ended in about 1929. A couple of years later, she marries Arnett Williams, and they have a daughter together, Du Bois Williams. Yolande lives until 1961, and her daughter, born in 1932, Du Bois Williams, lives until 2021. And so each of these individuals play different parts and key roles within the story of the scrapbooks. Yolande has appeared in scholarship, and if we're talking about Du Bois and scholarship, we have to mention the name David Levering Lewis, whose sterling and Pulitzer Prize-winning biographies revealed a lot about Du Bois. And so in many ways, the work of David Levering Lewis helped to put Yolande Du Bois on the historical map, primarily through the vast amount of correspondence that exists within the Du Bois papers. And in these biographies, we see Yolande as somebody who competes for her father's attention. He's absent, he's on the road quite a bit. And we also see a daughter who lives in the shadow of her famous father, and someone who also faces his stern gaze. It was a complicated relationship for sure, but there were also moments of loving encounters. There were moments of encouragement that Yolande received from her father. Nevertheless, the relationship was complicated, yet moments of them being quite close. Yolande also appears in the scholarship of art historians. For example, in the work of the late Amy Helene Kershke, a friend and previous collaborator of mine, she writes about Yolande's work in The Crisis magazine in her anthology, Women Artists of the Harlem Renaissance. And while she documents her work as an illustrator, she describes Yolande's work as, quote, an amateur artist of limited talent. And so, again, in some of the scholarship, the impression is left that history acted upon Yolande rather than Yolande making her own history. But that narrative is changing with the scrapbooks, but it also builds upon a more recent text by Tara Green, a book about Black women's pleasure in the mid-20th century. And she analyzes Yolande's time as a student at Fisk University. She engaged in theater, she went to choir concerts, she sang, she was involved in theater as well. And so she doesn't overlook the relationship with County Cullen, but she expands the perspective of Yolande's other romantic interests. And so what she does is she starts to present Yolande Du Bois on her own terms as, quote, a woman who took steps to explore who she was as just Yolande. So my work today builds upon this previous work. But it's not just the scholars who talk about Yolande Du Bois. There are a couple of poets who have addressed her life within their creativity. Specifically, the poet Sandra Staton Taiwo and Elizabeth Alexander. And in these poetic reflections of Yolande Du Bois, these poets provide Yolande in a new voice. For instance, in Elizabeth Alexander's book of poems, Body of Life, she has a poem titled Yolande Speaks. And part of the poem is about Yolande's relationship with her father, but she gives Yolande words to speak in the poem where Yolande says, "My pace is my own. My pace is my own." In other words, Elizabeth Alexander invests Yolande with historical agency as she figures out her way in life. As we continue to get to know Yolande Du Bois from various collections here at UMass, we see photographs of her life very well documented, saved and preserved by her father, yet she kept her own records. And it was as she was growing up as a young girl that we see some of her initial artistic expressions. We see the earliest imaginings of her artistry. And here is a Christmas card that she made for her father from 1914. And we start to see the themes that become prominent in her artwork. Landscape, queens and princesses and dancers, art with a kind of Art Nouveau aesthetic. And this particular Christmas card provides a calendar, a peel-off calendar for 1915 for her father. As she grows up, we see her as a high school student on the cusp of going to college. After Yolande graduates in 1924 from Fisk University with a degree in English, she goes on to Columbia, where she completes a master's degree in English. And there's also a photo of her adult life here at the well-documented, well-publicized wedding of the year, perhaps, in Harlem, there in 1928. Yolande spends the bulk of her professional career as a teacher in Baltimore. She teaches first at Frederick Douglass High School and later at Dunbar. She teaches English, she teaches theater, she teaches art, she teaches history. So as we're getting to know Yolande, we now meet Du Bois Williams. And here is a photograph of a young Yolande with a younger Du Bois Williams, born in 1932, lives until 2021. In this picture from 1972, Du Bois Williams is in her 40s at this point. And I chose this picture because this is the era of her life where the scrapbooks are part of the story. The scrapbooks end up in Texas. But there are several steps to trace as we understand that story. I believe that upon Yolande's death in 1961, her daughter inherits the scrapbooks and a number of other family heirloom, family artifacts. And these archival artifacts move with Du Bois Williams wherever she moves. So in the 1960s, she moves to Denver, Colorado. She takes these scrapbooks and other items along with her. In the 1970s, she moves to Texas, where she works as a community psychologist in a small town called Corpus Christi. In the 1980s, after completing a PhD in community psychology at University of Colorado Boulder, she moves to Houston, where she continues her practice of psychology and community work. Then in 1988, she moves from Houston to New Orleans to teach psychology at Xavier University, where she teaches until about 2005. And after Hurricane Katrina, she retires to Colorado. Now, when she, and I'll add that part of the story of the life and thought of Du Bois Williams is documented in the scholar Mary Nell Morgan's 1987 Clark Atlanta University dissertation. So Du Bois Williams appears in scholarship as well. But it's in the 1980s that, 1970s, that Du Bois Williams puts these scrapbooks in storage. And there they live. She does not take them with her when she moves to Houston. And so the scrapbooks live in South Texas, in a town adjacent to Corpus Christi called Portland. They live in storage for nearly half a century. 50 years, these scrapbooks are hidden from history, hidden from Black history. And if you know anything about the climate in South Texas, you know it's humid, you know that it is subject to hurricanes and tropical storms, but at times, the Arctic blasts make it far enough south where Corpus experiences freezing temperatures. And you see where this is going. These scrapbooks weathered storms, freezing temperatures, triple-digit temperatures, suffocating humidity, and yet they have survived. They were discovered last year in an abandoned storage unit and eventually made their way to UMass. So think about this for a second. These scrapbooks that Yolande Du Bois made, maybe she had them at Fisk with her. She certainly had them in New York, where she lived for quite a while. She had them in Baltimore. When Du Bois Williams inherited them, these scrapbooks go to Colorado, they make their way to Texas, and now to Massachusetts. And so this gives you a sense of where these scrapbooks have been, but it's up to us, to scholars and researchers and students of history, to figure out where these scrapbooks go next, where these scrapbooks can take us. And so what I want to do now is turn to those scrapbooks and start to explore some of those pages as portals into hidden Black history. And I begin here with the first scrapbook in chronological order, again, the first of 8 scrapbooks. And what we see on the cover here, we start to see Yolande's particular style of stenciling. We see what her handwriting looks like. We see that her distinctive 9s with a long leg, and you'll see this over and over today. But as we start to turn the pages of this scrapbook, we see the Du Bois family in 1917 on vacation in New Jersey. We see Yolande Du Bois and her friend Margaret Wellman, strutting their stuff, quote unquote, in Brooklyn. That's, if you can see the writing on top of the page, it says, "Strut your stuff," with an exclamation point. Margaret Wellman, as it turns out, is good friends with Yolande. They go to Fisk together, and as Other scrapbooks in this collection reveal they travel to Europe in the summer of 1927, and that trip is fully documented with photographs, postcards, maps of their travel, etc. If we continue to turn the pages in this scrapbook, we see never-before-seen photos of Yolande as a young woman, and we see Dr. Du Bois not in his characteristic three-piece suit, but in a bathing suit, relaxing on the beach. And so this first scrapbook in particular, it's not just Yolande as a photographer or Yolande as the subject of photographs, but we see her as a curator with a purposeful assembly and arrangement of stories and memories. And to invoke the language and concept of the scholar Tina Campt, what does it mean when we start to listen to these images of Yolande Du Bois and members of the Du Bois family, Yolande's friends? What are these images saying? So now I want to move into the period of the Harlem Renaissance from the late 19-teens to the early 1930s. And I want to focus specifically on the black press, the black print culture. In particular, the Crisis magazine, the magazine of the NAACP, founded by Dr. Du Bois, a periodical that he edited between 1910 and 1934. I also want to peer into the pages of the Brownies book, and this was a crisis magazine for kids that the Harlem Renaissance writer Jessie Fawcett edited in 1920 and 1921. And on the pages of both of these magazines, we see the unfolding of Yolande Du Bois's creative imagination as an artist, as an illustrator, as an author. She published fiction and nonfiction on the pages of the Brownies book. She served as an illustrator to various stories within the Brownies book, and this is where the story becomes even more interesting. When you place pages from her scrapbook there on the right of the screen, from a summer camp she worked at called Fern Rock in 1924, we start to see alignments, relationships between her stenciling on the page of her scrapbook and the same style of stenciling that she uses on the pages of the Brownies book. We see the distinctive long-tailed lowercase y's. We see the distinctive long-legged uppercase k's and r's. And we see a character, a Kewpie doll, K-E-W-P-I-E. We see these Kewpie dolls show up in different parts of her illustrated stories over the years. So we see a kind of distinctive stenciling, but also a kind of Art Nouveau aesthetic within her scrapbooks. Not only did she write in the Brownies book, not only did she illustrate stories, but her handiwork appeared on the cover of some of the Brownies issues. And what would sometimes happen is you would have an illustrator create the cover. In this case, these two covers are from the Harlem Renaissance artist Laura Wheeler, later Laura Wheeler Waring. So she illustrates the cover, and then Yolande adds the decorations, as they were called, with her distinctive stenciling, the discs there on the left-hand side of the screen, and then her distinctive lettering of the Brownies book there within the checkerboard. Now we move from the Brownies book to the Crisis. You'll recall earlier that I mentioned Yolande Du Bois graduated from Fisk University in the spring of 1924. She then enrolls that fall at Columbia, and she takes a part-time job when she's a master's student at Columbia, working for the Crisis, working as an illustrator and artist for the Crisis. At that point, Jessie Fawcett leaves the Crisis and goes to study in France, and so Yolande picks up some of that work, both in terms of her artistry and in terms of her reporting. And so while she's employed at the Crisis, there are a couple of letters that her father sends to her where he offers kind of congratulatory comments on her work as an illustrator. He said, quote, "You have a good deal of latent ability in that line," meaning her art, "and a chance to make a career of it. Or if not a full career, at least a profitable and inspiring avocation." He then suggests that she make contact with leading Harlem Renaissance artists like Laura Wheeler, like Aaron Douglas, like Hale Woodruff, like Henry Tanner, who she and County eventually visit when on their early part of their honeymoon in France in mid-1928. She does correspond and speak with Hale Woodruff. I suspect she also speaks with Laura Wheeler. And so as Yolande is working at the Crisis magazine, we see some of her illustrations come through. She has one solo cover that is art all her own in April of 1922, and we see a couple of distinctive features here. We see the Cupid doll reappear from that we first saw in the Brownies book, but we see examples of dancers and fairies and flapper characters throughout her scrapbook. So this is a theme that she not only makes public in terms of the cover art of the Crisis, but inside her scrapbooks we see her returning to this theme as well. And although she only had one solo cover with just her art, she added decorations, as they were called, to the covers of Crisis magazines, like she did for the Brownies. For example, in the December 1924 issue, you can see her distinctive stenciling and numbers there on the cover, but she stencils the Crisis. She does the same thing as the magazines unfold. We see not only distinctive stenciling, but we see variation in the ways that she is lettering the Crisis. And for those of you in attendance, there's some bonus material circulating around the room of some of these covers to get a closer look. On these covers, we see a continued use of the long-legged Ks, but we see also these rounded capital Ms, which become a feature of some of her other stenciling. And in the March 1925 issue, on the far right of the screen, we see the landscape theme return, with vines, with birds, with leaves on the ground. As we get further into the pages of these issues, we see Yolande, again, like she did in the Brownies book, illustrating stories. Here's one, an illustrated story of Charles Chestnut's. We see the landscape theme. We see characters with an Art Nouveau aesthetic. Another story of Ola Calhoun Moorhead's, we see titled The Bewitched Sword, we see flapper characters distinctively. So again, like she did in the Brownies book, Yolande is not only working on the covers of the Crisis, she's illustrating stories on its pages. As the story continues to unfold, Yolande is an illustrator of maps, which is a very distinctive feature. This map from a December 1924 issue of the Crisis features a map of East Africa. Now, there are several contextual factors that are interesting about this particular work of map making. In this story about King Tut, the famous tomb of King Tut is discovered in 1922, 2 years previous, by Howard Carter. So this is in the news. She continues to illustrate East Africa over the years. So I think we see a kind of Pan-African sensibility here. We also see an emerging interest in Africa and in African culture, because her father has visited Africa in this period for the first time. He visits West Africa, but Africa is emerging in Yolande's consciousness as her art unfolds, as her understanding and knowledge of history continues to inform her illustrations and her art. So thus far, we've seen Yolande as an illustrator and decorator on the cover of the Brownies and the crisis also within its pages. We see different stylistic characteristics of her stenciling, of the characters she creates, yet there's more. And so picking up on the theme that the pages of the scrapbooks are portals into hidden Black history, this clipping of her story from the crisis titled Rain, which is about her time in Tennessee, is in a scrapbook that she kept when she was a student at Columbia University. And when I turned the page to encounter this clipping last summer, I saw for the first time a story of hers, an article of hers that I was not aware of. I knew it was from the crisis because of the distinctive font and the insignia, but because Yolande did not record the date of publication or anything else about it, I had to do some investigation to figure out where this clipping came from. And as I continued to delve into the archives of the Crisis magazine, I discovered that this clipping was from the January 1925 issue of the Crisis. And this clipping appeared on a page with a map of South Carolina that Yolande also stenciled information about. And furthermore, she illustrated, or decorated rather, the cover of that issue of the Crisis magazine. And it may be hard to tell, but at the very bottom, Yolande makes a silhouette of a camel there. Again, another landscape perspective. And so the point I'm making here is that another distinctive feature of Yolande Du Bois's artistic imagination is her interest in silhouettes. And if we turn to some of the correspondence with her father from this period, he praises her for what he called her quote-unquote little pen sketches or silhouettes. And he offers an encouraging word by saying, quote, "I am tickled pink to know that you are working hard at your drawing." And from the same era, we see a reference that County Cullen makes in a letter to Dr. Du Bois, where he mentions that Yolande, quote, lives to draw silhouettes. So as we look further into the archives of W.E.B. Du Bois and those of his family members, we start to see that these silhouettes are really a central feature in her artistic imagination. And the history of silhouettes dates to the 18th century, and it is a kind of popular art form constructed by both black and white artists, and it's also easily distributed. And so Yolande took an interest in this, and as you turn the pages of issues of the Crisis magazine, you see that you start to notice silhouettes everywhere. Across numerous articles on numerous pages, and well into the 1920s and 1930s. And so the unfolding of Yolande's work as a silhouettist, you often see singular silhouettes of young people, often young females dancing, skipping, running, roller skating. And as we think about the role of silhouettes in Yolande's artistic imagination, and you encounter them on the pages of the Crisis, it's as if Yolande is recalling her youth via art. These bodily movements, images of play, images of pleasure, images of fun, images of being outdoors. And it's as if, especially on this particular slide, where we have these silhouettes intermingling with a column that her father wrote. It's as if Yolande uses shadow art to make herself more visible, rendering her artist's marker as an editorial, as a visual contrast rather, to the symbolic weight of her father's editorial pen. And so one of the questions I'm thinking about presently is, where did Yolande's interest in silhouettes develop? And part of that story, I believe, starts when she's a young student, a young art student. And the Louis Prang publication company was an instrumental publisher in early 20th century art education. And there were a series that they published of textbooks of art education. And on the pages within this curricula, you see silhouettes. And so it is perhaps the case that these early moments in Yolande's educational experience, the images of these silhouettes stuck with her. In addition to perhaps the symbolic meaning that these silhouettes took on as she became a professional artist. But the story of the silhouettes does not end there. It continues. In the period of the Harlem Renaissance, the New Negro era, in one of the most famous publications of the period, the Survey Graphic magazine, edited by Alain Locke, we see the presence of Yolande's silhouettes. And sometimes it is the case that Yolande's art is attributed in the table of contents or referenced elsewhere. In other cases, her art is not attributed. But in a publication, a leading Harlem Renaissance publication with the likes of County Cullen, Claude McKay, and Spencer Arturo Schomburg on its pages, we see the presence of Yolande's silhouettes because her father took out an ad in this issue for the Crisis magazine. And lo and behold, Yolande's silhouettes are intermingled within this leading Harlem Renaissance publication. They are hiding in plain sight, as it were. Nevertheless, they are present. Her work, her art from the Harlem Renaissance era is part of this important moment and movement. She also produces silhouettes in an ad for the Crisis Company, the kind of publication company of the NAACP. And there were various schemes the Crisis Corporation used over the years to make revenue, creating a bookshop, and in this case, creating personal stationery. And I believe Yolande illustrated this ad as well. And so as we turn the corner to finish up today's presentation, there is yet one more silhouette to behold, which is a silhouette of her father. You see the distinctive three-piece suit. You see the details of his Van Dyke beard. You see the outline of his smooth forehead, his balding forehead. This silhouette I have not seen published anywhere, so it remains on the pages of her scrapbook. But she did produce a silhouette of her father. So, I want to offer some concluding comments. Today we've seen scissoring scrapbooks, we moved to stencils, and then finally we moved to silhouettes. The pages of Yolande's scrapbooks, of Yolande Du Bois's scrapbooks, are portals into a virtually unknown, hidden Black history. We have learned to see her as an illustrator, a map maker, whose characters include dolls and dancers and landscapes. She's an author within these publications. She is a stencilist who employs stylistic variation, and then finally, again, a silhouettist. And thinking about these scrapbooks in relation to Yolande Du Bois's artistic imagination, we see her unfolding what I call her aesthetic autobiography. And these scrapbooks reveal, not unlike Elizabeth Alexander's poem, Yolande Speaks, where Alexander gives voice to Yolande as somebody who says, "My pace is my own." We're reminded by this poetic reflection that in these scrapbooks we see Yolande's self-expression and creative artistry in her own way, in her own voice, and on her own terms. Thank you. So we'll take questions.
I hope I'm getting the artist's name correct, but do you have any idea whether her work had any influence on Carol Walker's work?
Excellent question. So the question is about the relationship between Yolande's silhouettes and Kara Walker's silhouettes. I'm still exploring that question. What I can say at this point is the silhouettes of Kara Walker are often of groups of people, of visual narratives, whereas Yolande's silhouettes are often singular figures, and hence the kind of autobiographical element there. But it's a good question and one I'm still researching. Thanks.
Can I just,
Yeah.
and a lot of Kara Walker's is from Harper's. So Harper's also used the silhouette for scenes, and I would say that in that time period, so especially for African American silhouettes was an easy way, a quick way to illustrate stories. And so it's very common, especially in Harper's.
Yeah. In addition to the Harper's connection, Kara Walker's silhouettes are part of exhibits and exhibit catalogs, whereas Yolande's silhouettes were in early print culture and were not exhibited that I found.
Thank you. That was absolutely fascinating. I learned a lot. I was thinking about recent scholarship on County Cullen, which has kind of pointed out his interest in European decadent movement from the late 19th century. And I was just thinking about this answer to your question of like where may Yolande be kind of drawing these silhouettes from, but they're really reminiscent of these kinds of decadent European magazines of the late 19th century. Writers like Wilde, but illustrators like Aubrey Beardsley, for example, would be a key one. And I wonder if that, kind of thinking about that history adds another layer to what we know about the relationship between Yolande and County Cullen, but also kind of begins to articulate another type of answer to the question you're asking.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So the question is about 19th century European artistic movements and their connection to Yolande's imagination, but then also that same trend in terms of her relationship to County Cullen. And I think one way I'll answer it is yes. I think there are potential connections. And what I mean by that is that Yolande spent a couple of years as a high schooler at the Bedale School in the UK, and so perhaps there are some influences there to be explored further. She spent some time in Europe. I mentioned the trip with Margaret Wellman previously, and so there's more work to be done tracing those influences. And with County Cullen in particular, as part of their honeymoon in mid to late 1928, they did travel throughout Europe, and Dr. Du Bois writes to both County and Yolande and says, hey, why don't you send me some written dispatches of your travels throughout Europe, and Yolande can include some illustrations. And so these sort of travel logs of County Cullen describe some of the places they visited. So that may be a way to further make those connections.
Sure. Also, the Europeans coming to the States, so Oscar Wilde's score, for example, or the Abbey Theater score.
Right. Yeah, and I think several areas to explore that question is the correspondence within the Du Bois collection at UMass, but then the correspondence between Yolande and County Cullen at the Amistad Center at Tulane, and then their hundreds of letters, their correspondence in the James Weldon Johnson Memorial Collection at Yale. And so those are areas I'm still exploring, but maybe some of those details exist in that correspondence.
In the slide you showed of Prang, that art thing, I noticed that a couple of silhouettes had like Raggedy Ann dolls, so her homage to that might have been the Kewpie doll, where she made it wrong.
Yeah, and I just, given the limitations of the slide, there are many points of connection in that curricula and other early 20th century art education. So thanks for that. Another area I'm still exploring.
I know, thanks for this. This is very fascinating. I know that you sort of set this up as wanting to let Yolande's art sort of chart its own course, but I couldn't help but wonder what a spirited debate they must have had when Du Bois published the criteria for Negro art, and the sort of expectation that he has for artists to sort of be moving the movement forward. And I wonder, maybe you do, maybe you don't know, wonder how that might have played out or where she might have fit herself into that conversation.
Yeah, that's a good question as well. And the question is, the conversations Dr. Du Bois and Yolande may or may not have had upon the publication of Du Bois's 1926 article in The Crisis, The Criteria of Negro Art. I think that's a worthy area to explore. And, because they, at the time, lived in close proximity, or Yolande at that point was between Baltimore and New York and traveling, one wonders if many of their conversations were over a meal or at home that are not recorded in the correspondence. But given the frameworks and the limitations of the archives, I think the first place to look is probably the correspondence to see if there were any comments there. But it's, again, another fruitful avenue of exploration. So
it seems like a lot of these silhouettes and pieces of art are before she became like a teacher at Dunbar, like before, because I'm thinking about like time periods, like I don't remember when she and County separated, but I feel like, so was it, they weren't married long, right?
Right, they were married for basically less than 2 years.
Oh, wow, I can see why, but I'm always the controversial one, sorry.
Yeah.
But I just think about, because I'm thinking about early letters between Du Bois and Yolande, especially when she's at Fisk, like, he's so cruel. So, not cruel, but the expectations that he had for her, forward in her
That's right.
race. Like, imagine your father being Du Bois, like, no.
Right.
But, but it's like, I don't know, like from like what I'm looking at this kind of timeline is like she actually has a creative spirit and she actually has these things that she wants to pursue. I feel like his compliment of her is a little flippant, not flippant, but it's layered. He don't give compliments to Yolande, and it's really heart-wrenching, I think. But that, when we write the book, of course, we're going to explore it. But the idea that there was this moment where it seems like she had the freedom to express herself is in these early days. But then, an unsuccessful second marriage and the critique that Du Bois has of her choices.
Right.
And so I feel like it's almost like this part of her disappears. I don't want to say beaten down, but I'm saying this part of her seems to be a very specific time in her life, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, the comment is about relationship between Dr. Du Bois and Yolande and where her creative imagination exists within that. And you're correct. I mean, the relationship is layered, it's complicated. And at this very moment, I mean, I focused on the silhouettes and the illustrations, but as Tara Green's book points out, I mean, she's in theater at Fisk, she's singing in the choir, she's going to social events, and all of this is documented in the scrapbooks through pictures and through flyers from all these events she went to, telegrams from her romantic interest, which is not just with Jimmy Lunsford, who she truly loved, but she's going to Fisk sporting events. And so her father buys her a banjo and she learns a couple of songs, and there are pictures of her and her friends holding the banjo in the scrapbooks. She's an avid summer camper to YWCA and the close local camp, which is now known as Camp Atwater. And so she very much has this creative spirit, and these artistic expressions seem to congregate in this early period, that is to say the 1920s, before her marriage to County Cullen, but it's also after that, because she continues to illustrate for the Crisis and so on and so forth. And I think one way to kind of explore that comment or that question is through the correspondence. I think that's where a lot of this information may or may not reside. But I've had the thought more than once as I'm thumbing through these scrapbooks, particularly of her travels to Europe. These two scrapbooks from the late 1920s, and the scrapbook she kept when she and County went on their honeymoon, pictures visiting Henry Tanner's home, is I wonder if she ever used these scrapbooks as a tool in her teaching, to tell her students about not just her travels to Europe, but photos and postcards of museums. There are pictures where in about 1927, she visits her former high school, Bedales. So she can show her students, this is where I went to school at one point. So, so perhaps her artistic creativity has a kind of afterlife in terms of her teaching. Maybe other scrapbooks will show up. Will be discovered at some point that document that further reflection. But you know, as a teacher at both Frederick Douglass High School in Dunbar, she is basically the kind of key figure in the theater department there at those schools. And so she does co-write plays, she does stage theatrical expressions with her students. So that is a for sure documented space of her artistic creativity. And hopefully more data points will show up with that. But you do make an excellent point that right now it seems to be this period of the early to mid to late 1920s where we see the most evidence of her artistic and creative imagination.
Share Whitney's exasperation and sadness with the exasperation with W.E. Du Bois, and I would add County Cullen, writing to one another, patronizing this woman's artistic output, as they have conspired to force her into a marriage, really, that is a sham, in the interest of prestige that is for everyone but Yolande. And so, I know that I've seen the scrapbooks, and I know that there's that terrible photo that I've mentioned many times of, it's not a terrible photo, it's a lovely photo of Du Bois, but it's a terrible caption that she writes, so something along the lines of, may I ever be worthy, or something. And
Right.
so I think something that answers the question of why her artistic output disappears, or maybe the trauma of what she had to go through in the late 1920s helps to reveal that. And so my question really is for you to, as UMass, the library has acquired these collections, can you reflect a little bit on where they sit archivally and what our duty is to these, as well as to the Du Bois-Williams materials? I mean, they all come from Du Bois-Williams, but there are materials that are distinct to Du Bois-Williams, and there are materials that are distinct to Yolande. And of course, in all of this, the often silent figure of the mother in this line, Nina.
Right. Yeah. It's a question about how these scrapbooks live within and among other archival collections, Du Bois related, Du Bois adjacent here at UMass, and I think elsewhere. And so one way to answer that question is to name the importance of the Yolande Du Bois scrapbook collection in relation to the 16 or so other Du Bois-related collections, Du Bois-adjacent collections here at UMass, some digitized, some not digitized. And one way to answer the question is to comment on how the correspondence in the W.E.B. Du Bois papers here helps to contextualize what we find in the scrapbooks. I think another way to think about this is how the W.E.B. Du Bois papers, and specifically the correspondence of Yolande Du Bois, of Nina Du Bois in the Du Bois collection here helps to shine some light on how Nina Du Bois is configured in the scrapbooks. There are multiple photos of Nina in and across the scrapbooks. In some cases, she has a stern look on her face. It was the case that she was chronically ill much of the time, but we also in these scrapbooks see Nina smiling. She is playing with the Du Bois' dog, a dog named Jack, which is a story for another day. But we see Nina in a new light, and so the scrapbooks and the Du Bois papers are in conversation that way. And the fact that Du Bois Williams inherited so much of her mother's and her family's historical artifacts, and there are pieces of this collection that she brought to Colorado, that she brought to Texas. Some of those pieces from Colorado ended up here. There are other historical family artifacts in Texas. And so these scrapbooks then help to bring together this split collection by way of photographs, by way of correspondence. And so they are a kind of glue that brings these collections together that will take years to explore further. So they live at UMass as part of this sort of 16-person Du Bois family of collections, but they are also singular and unique in that we see Yolande in correspondence at UMass, at Tulane, at Yale, but we see Yolande literally in photographs and her creative imagination in these scrapbooks. So they are a kind of glue, but they're also a kind of light that illumines and illuminates other parts of that history that we're just starting to unpack. So, sure. One last question.
I'm sorry, there was an executive decision, sorry.
Yes.
But not talking about the relationship between Yolande and WEB, but the relationship between Yolande and Nina. Like, I don't know, I just remember Du Bois Williams not really, like, when she was talking to us, telling us she didn't really know her mother. And I'm wondering, is Nina, you said there's pictures of Nina, but I wonder, do any of the scrapbooks kind of reveal a closeness between Nina? I don't even think Nina could be close to anyone, to be honest.
Yeah.
In terms of how Du Bois Williams, who sees her so affectionately and almost as her mother, as this very nurturing person, but when you see her in pictures, she's very stern and very, I don't know how to explain it, but it just seemed to me that Du Bois Williams was referring to her mother as Yolande and Nina as her mom. Her grandmother was more her mother than. Is any of that like reflected in her pictures?
Yeah, so I think one way that's a fantastic question about the sort of relationship and interrelationship between the mother, Nina, daughter, Yolande, granddaughter, Du Bois Williams. And one way that I think of to answer that question is the fact of so many photos of Nina within these scrapbooks. Number of photos of Nina within other related Du Bois family collections. But also the fact that in the correspondence and in some of the photographs, there are reports where Nina is taking Du Bois Williams to summer camp, or she's commenting on Du Bois Williams's progress as a student, or she's been ill for a while, she's feeling better. And so there are a lot of kind of day-to-day activities that show up in Nina's letters to W.E.B. Du Bois. Meanwhile, her mother is in Philadelphia or is in Baltimore teaching. And then eventually the family moves to Baltimore. So that relationship, they're all living under the same roof at that point. This is like the late 30s and 1940s. But then part of what we heard when we had a chance to conduct the oral history with Du Bois Williams and compare that oral history with interview transcripts from David Levering Lewis's papers and the Louis Messiah collection, the documentary filmmaker who made the Du Bois documentary. W.B. Du Bois, A Biography in Four Voices, we see in these interviews conducted in the 1980s, Du Bois Williams commenting and kind of shedding new light on the family dynamics, where there is at times harmony, at other times disharmony between her and her mother, but she speaks of her grandmother with great affection as that kind of maternal figure. And we see Nina presented as somebody who is creative, who's actually funny, who tells jokes, who reads stories to her. And so it's in this kind of, these kinds of materials that we get glimpses of Nina. And so I think assembling the documentary record with the visual record is a way to kind of elongate that story. So that's a long answer to the question, but it's a long answer because it's a complicated answer, a complicated family dynamics, and multiple split collections as well that are certainly speak to one another, and that's work for the future, I think. So thanks for that.
I have a quick one.
Okay.
How did you feel when you found out that the scrapbooks were just down the road from you for so long?
Yeah, so as a Houstonian, I'll clarify that it's about a 6-hour drive between Houston and Corpus. Yeah, I was astonished. And there are other Du Bois archival artifacts in Houston as well. It was, it was just astonishing. And to realize that they are, hidden from history for literally half a century was one way to think about it. But then, as somebody who pays close attention to weather reports, especially during hurricane season, I began to contemplate like what these scrapbooks lived through and survived, because you do see water stain markings on some of these pages. The scrapbooks are very brittle, so they have been through a lot. And then I started to document, 20 plus measurable climatological events that these scrapbooks lived through, and was dismayed, but astonished all over again because they actually survived. So yeah, I guess those are the words that come to mind, but also exceedingly grateful that they found their way to UMass. So.
I was also curious about how they were found in the storage unit and it was abandoned, and so I'm just picturing, the storage facility and unclimate controlled, and some workers cleaning out an abandoned, unpaid for unit. And how did they know this? How did that happen? That the worker knew that they were significant, and then they eventually made their way into an archives.
Right. So the question is about the kind of prehistory of these scrapbooks coming here and the moment of discovery. I'm still piecing together that story. I've been in touch with the person who is responsible for these scrapbooks coming to UMass. So I don't know all the details yet, but what I do know is that the storage unit was purchased at an auction. And as presumably doors and were open to these units, different things were discovered, and the fact that these scrapbooks seemed to be in conversation and relationship to one another seemed significant. And so that backstory is certainly part of what I'm writing about this, but I don't know that full story yet. It's yet to be told.
From the storage unit, I mean, I watch Storage Wars.
Yes. So
because it's actually not a worker, it's actually the people who purchase these, not knowing what's in it, and then they try to locate experts in the field to assess the value.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure that's how Arthur was contacted. This is a different story.
Yeah, this in Denver, right? Yeah. So there have been multiple storage units across the country where Du Bois family archives, materials, artifacts have been discovered, and they have found their way into archival, climate-controlled archival custody. So, yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and for those attending online, and for everybody here in person, and thanks for all the questions. I really, really appreciate it.